Hi folks, I hope you're well. Just a quick video. I was just thinking about this point of sin being covered, and about that when you uncover other people's sin, what is the situation there? Because I've been talking a lot about that. So I was just speaking to God about that. And because just asking the question, okay, so is it a case that people's sin is covered from the moment they are born? Or do they need to be born again for their sin to be covered? But it makes no sense for them to be born again, because the problem is they've sinned before that, and all that sin would be known to God. It can't just be forgotten. So it will be a case that no, your sin is covered from birth. Everyone's sin is covered from birth. After Christ, anyone born after Christ, from the point of Christ, everyone's sin was covered from that point. Okay. If you're a Jewish person at that time of Christ, you would have been sacrificing whatever you were sacrificing for that blood to cover your sin up until that point. So therefore you would have been covered by that, right? After Christ was crucified, he became the sacrifice for all. Therefore, you were covered. You didn't need to sacrifice any animals. There's no need for any other blood to cover your sin. It's covered. Right? So for those people, and for Gentiles, they weren't under any covenant with God. They didn't come under any covenant with God, so they had never sinned against God. Because they never had a relationship with God. They had never had the possibility of that. The first time they had a possibility of a relationship with the Jewish God was after Christ and after Pentecost. So after the Son of God had become the sacrifice for all, that his blood would cover all sin, the Gentiles were then covered. But their sin wouldn't have bothered God before then, because they weren't with God, so God wouldn't have noticed them. God didn't care about their sin because they weren't his. They didn't have the law. If they didn't have the law, then they weren't expected to live according to the law, were they? That's the simplest way of putting it. And so I put it about 3 different ways, so hopefully one of those ways will be understandable to people. But that's it. And so therefore, when you uncover, or when you try to point at other people's sin, you're trying to uncover their sin. You can never uncover other people's sin. You're just trying to uncover their sin. Or you're having a peek and you're showing other people. Well, whatever you're actually doing, doesn't matter. But from God's point of view, you can never uncover their sin. You can't do it. No, they can, but you can't. But what you're doing, therefore, uncovers yours. Now, okay, that's a tricky bit, because what does that mean by you've uncovered yours? Does it mean from that moment forward that Father God can see your sin? Well, because going to God, and this is why I was speaking to God about it, because going to God then, if God can see your sin, asking him what you have to do to have it recovered, then you're looking at something massive, aren't you? You're looking at something absolutely binking huge, aren't you? But if it's simply a case that from that point in time, it means that you will be judged as if your sin was uncovered, unless you sort that out with God. It's like repenting, but it's more the point of, okay, you come into the seed, what you did was bad seed, that's going to come back at you 10-fold, 30-fold, or 100-fold. Now, even that, I wouldn't say that's necessarily good, but it's nowhere near as bad. as if Father God can see your sins. If Father God can see your sin, that's it. He won't have anything to do with you anymore. You can't. So you can't exactly go to him to sort it out. So I think, yes, it's going to be more likely the point where when you point at other people's sin, you are therefore putting yourself in a position where, because doesn't the word say, doesn't Matthew 7 say, you will be judged, not you are being judged, you will be judged according to how you judge, and the measure you use will be measured back onto you. You will be judged. So if we're looking at it from that point in term, you will be means future reference, you will be, unless you can cancel that. Going to God to get that cancelled, that you will be judged. Oops. I just saw that puppy fall over there. That was Jacob and Terrible running around like nutters playing. That was about just over 3 years ago. yeah. So they didn't fall over today. That was then. Yeah. But yeah, as I say, the reality with regards to that, it is easier. And also the reality, do I understand this fully yet? No, I do not. This is something which is still, a learning thing right now. Yeah, I'm still very much learning this because it's new. It's very, very new. And this whole point of uncovering sin is a very, very new concept. Very, very new. I've never heard it before. I've only heard it from the point of God talking to me about it. And so it's very new. So therefore I'm still learning what it is and what it means. And so therefore, yeah. So, yeah, I'm admitting that I think I probably have said before, it means that God can see your sin. Well, I hope for those people's sakes that will not be the case. What I will say is the difference between being saved and not saved is that you have a chance to go to God about it. Those people that aren't saved, when they're doing cancel culture, things like that, yeah, a lot of those people will die completely unknowing that they spent their life doing something that was only making sure that they would go to hell for eternity. Had they done something else, had they not been involved in cancel culture, they might have been okay, they might have gone to heaven. But doing that, being one of those champions of doing people for what was said years ago, judging people based upon what was said or done years ago. As I said before, the whole stupidity of tearing down statues, because what the people stood for then, we don't stand for now. So incredibly stupid. It's so incredibly immature and baby thinking. There's no maturity in that thinking at all. It's just reactionary. There's no actual intelligent thinking involved in that whatsoever. But it's judgmental. It's condemning. It's cancel culture. So if the people are dead, they tore down the statues or they ripped up the work the people have done. The people are alive, they just tried to destroy their career. And as I say, they therefore judge and they decided what the punishment would be. So therefore the measure they used, that was the measure. Deciding that they would try and cancel those people, destroy their careers, was the measure. And doing that, oh my God, that's bad. So recently, all I've had is people get quite judgmental or try and point out sin. They've not used really much of a measure. And so that's good. So it's not quite as bad as what I maybe have made out. So there you go. It doesn't mean it's not bad. It doesn't mean it doesn't need to be dealt with. It does, but it's not quite so bad. So you take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.